The NHL is absolutely salivating at this right now as young star center Marco Rossi, his time is likely up with the Minnesota Wild, with him coming out saying certain things against the team. Trade rumors are swirling with some very interesting young names being mentioned in Owen Tippett from the Philadelphia Flyers and even David Reinbacher, the prize top defensive prospect from Montreal. We have to dive into all of the trade reports, what Marco Rossi and Bill Guerin have said about the situation, and how it's looking more and more every single day like a 60-point young center is going to be available to the masses. We got to dive into all of this coming up on this episode of Hat Trick HQ. And look, Mark, the Marco Rossi situation in Minnesota, it's gotten crazy. We've been talking about it a lot on different channels, and what he had to say coming out of the season, it was a bit rough. He said he was very disappointed by his usage. He had an honest man-like exit meeting with Coach John Hynes, and Hynes and the Wild president of hockey ops and general manager Bill Guerin. They did talk to the media on Tuesday, but Rossi said, look, it was a good talk. You don't always understand some decisions, but it's important to respect those decisions. I know it's a huge thing. And Mark, before we dive into a lot of these quotes here, just looking at Rossi's production, like, it's very rare to get a guy who is this good. Again, not to mention, he had health issues, a lot of health issues during his key development time as a prospect. He's 23 years old. Yes, he's 5'9", but the Austrian native set career highs with 24 goals, 36 assists, 60 points, and a season where Kirill Kaprizov was only healthy for half of it. Mark, he genuinely looks like a guy that can be a 1C of the future, at the very worst a 2C for many teams, and I genuinely think a lot of NHL teams are drooling at the mouth waiting to try and just give an offer to Bill Guerin for this player.
And it seems like his time is up. It sucks for a guy that's going to go into a contract year. He's an RFA at the end of this, 60 points. We've seen him demoted to the fourth line, but it seems like with the Minnesota Wild having all this newfound cap space pre-day, suitors contracts coming up, they want to go out, get guys that are in their primes, ready to produce. They want a winger, they want an older center, someone that's a bigger player, and it seems like the 5'9" Rossi is going to be the odd man out. I think it's a bad idea. I want to start. I think Rossi can be an incredible player, but if management wants to go out, get these guys that have experience in the playoffs, someone that can make an immediate impact, it does make sense. But I think whatever team gets Rossi, Josh, is going to get a player that's going to be quite terrifying for the years to come.
Yeah, it's a terrifying prospect for the rest of the league for whoever does get Rossi. And again, a lot of Wild fans, the general sentiment, I mean, look, myself included, yourself included, is like, I want him to stick around. Like, you don't just give up on a talent like this, a guy you drafted, a former 120-point OHL player. But regardless, we can't ignore what's the rumors that have been going around. And look, even Bill Guerin, look what he had to say on the situation. He basically just said, look, we'll see what happens. There's contract talks, player movement, not just for Marco, for anybody. And like, okay, Bill, again, he's pretty much saying, we'll see. That's about it. It's all he'll give. But he did say he's in the hunt for not only a center, but also a scoring winger this offseason. And hunting for centers, hey, every team is. Frederick Gaudreau was playing the 2C a lot of this playoff run, while, like you said, Mark, Rossi was demoted to the fourth line with physical guys, Yakov Trenin, Justin Brazeau. What did he do? Still had 2 goals, 1 assist in the 6-game series against Vegas. Still managed to produce with those guys. The Wild seem to like size, though, Mark, and Rossi might not just fit the bill with his size. And so naturally, these trade rumors start swirling. And we got a couple to dive into today. There's more than just this, but we need to get your guys' thoughts, because if you're a team like the Philadelphia Flyers, right, you're looking towards the future. You have a lot of young guys. You also have some veterans on the team right now, but you want to get one of these bona fide young stars to slot into your top 6 for years to come. This article actually comes from the Hockey News Philadelphia. And look, they're saying, look, you got Noah Cates, you got Tyson Forster, top 9 caliber players. You could trade for those RFA rights for Rossi, but they say another name to consider is the uber talented Owen Tippett. He had the least productive season of his full career. Now, part of that reason, Mark, we know Philadelphia, they didn't have a great year. There's been some question marks around that team. But regardless, Tippett, when healthy, look, he's 26 years old. He's on a long-term contract at only about $6.2 million per season, which is honestly a pretty good bargain for a guy that looks to be a perennial 25 to 30 goal scorer. If the Wild want size combined with scoring on the wing, and they're just not convinced with Rossi going forward, if this name is available, genuinely, probably one of the top options out there.
And I mean, the big thing with Owen Tippett, we've seen him go out and score 20 goals every single year, it feels like, for the Philadelphia Flyers. The big thing is, too, Tippett's not with the most productive guys. It's a rebuilding team, retooling, whatever you want to call it. If you add Tippett into a more experienced Wild team, if you put him on a line with Boldy, Kaprizov, one of these guys, or even a new center coming in, I could see a second tier of this, maybe a 30-goal scorer in Tippett. The big thing a lot of people don't realize, too, he's almost hitting 2 hits per game. It's over 100. per year over the past 3 seasons. Tippett seems like the perfect style to bring into Minnesota. Listen, moving out Rossi, you need to get a center. You can still go sign a center. We've seen the reports with Rossi. He wants a 7x7 or longer or more expensive to come back for the Wild. So if you can save some cap, you save $1 million, bring it in Tippett. I think that just makes more room to go out, get that new center, Brock Nelson, even another winger in Brock Besser, Josh. I think this would be the perfect pickup if the Wild do want to move on, if they have to move on from Rossi. I think this would be my number one priority.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know a lot of Flyers fans love Owen Tippett. Like, it would be just as hard for Flyers fans to let go of Owen Tippett, a guy who, since coming over from Florida, has just done nothing but play amazing for their team and also extended a very reasonable cap hit. Like, he looks to be incredible, but you also can't ignore the Marco Rossi, while over 3 years younger, just set a 60-point season, which is higher than any of Tippett's seasons. Not to mention 24 goals, only 4 below Tippett's career high, who's a few years older, and Rossi plays a premium position at center. So, look, I'm just saying, there's money coming out from Tippett from Philadelphia you could put towards a younger center like Rossi, and who knows, that could be a big fit. But, Mark, it's not just Owen Tippett. I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below as well. We got to talk about this rumor out of Montreal, which is honestly crazy. Now, this comes from a wild website, hockeywilderness.com, and it's a very interesting proposition. Why not target Austrian right shot defenseman David Reinbacher for Rossi, an all Austrian trade? Reinbacher is 6'3", he's 207. He plays like a mixture of Jared Spurgeon and Brock Faber. And look, I mean, I cover the Montreal Canadiens as well, and I would say that's not too far from the truth. Reinbacher's a big guy, though. He's bigger than both those guys, definitely a lot bigger than Spurgeon, but 6'3", 207, very mobile, very fluid. Has had a lot of injuries coming up, especially to his lower body, another serious one this year. Finally getting some run in the playoffs with the Laval Rocket, 10 games in the regular season, 5 points. He's one of those guys, Mark, that's probably never going to jump off the stat sheet at you, but be an ultra solid right-hand mobile defenseman who can play great defense, solid offense for years to come. The problem is the Minnesota Wild are already kind of blocked down the right side. And while Montreal does need a 2C, they don't really need to get smaller. This one I'm not so sold on, just simply because if you're Minnesota, if you're trading Rossi, I think you have to trade him for another forward, especially with the decor of like Faber, of Boyum, of Bogosian, of so many guys down that right side for your team right now, even David Jiricek. It doesn't make sense to me, but what do you think of the prospect of this? Again, Rossi, for in terms of value, a former 5th overall pick, looks to be future very solid right-hand shot D-man.
I mean, listen, you said it best. If they did not go out and make that trade for Jiricek, sure, go out and get another prospect in Reinbacher to come in and fill that void. But it seems like we're looking at the point of the Minnesota Wild almost having a log jam on the back end. And listen, that's a good thing to have with your team, but with so many young guys stepping up within the lineup, we're going to see the Wild have a hard time to add more defensive pieces. And if Reinbacher comes in, you're just adding on a more list of problems of who to send down. Is Jiricek going to eventually get mad, staying in Iowa for another full year if they can't make room? I don't like the idea of going a Rossi for a defenseman. If you can go out and get a top tier ready defenseman, sure, go do it. But another prospect for someone that's making an immediate impact on the Wild, not to even go out and say about the Wild wanting to make a playoff run every single year. This one doesn't really make the most sense. I think you get someone that's in the NHL, can make an impact immediately, use extra cap space to go get more guys. If you can get an extra prospect, do it. But Reinbacher seems like a weird one-for-one trade.
Yeah, it's a tough one here, but regardless, like, I mean, if you're a team like Montreal, who, again, like I said, is looking for a 2C, that's been the talk around them all the time. Rossi fits that bill. He maybe doesn't fit the size that they need, especially having smaller guys like Brendan Gallagher, Cole Caulfield, and of course Lane Hudson. It's like adding another guy who's below 5'10", maybe not sustainable in the playoffs, especially in a series where they kind of got tossed around by Washington. But regardless, the idea that Rossi's out there, every team should be checking in. Every team should be offering whatever they can, whatever they think is reasonable for Rossi. Not to mention, there might be offer sheets coming, especially after last year, Mark, where Broberg and Holloway, that whole situation went down. Would not shock me to see some more. And Rossi's a prime candidate, but we'd love to hear from you guys. We got to cut it short there. There was a lot of stuff going down on the Rossi front. Maybe your favorite team wasn't mentioned. Leave us some of your Rossi mock trades down below. We would love to hear from you, but that'll do it for this episode of Hat Trick HQ. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for 15,000 subscribers. We wouldn't be here without you. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Mark Pye. We'll catch you in the next one.